Can everybody see my screen?
Early on in the first UK lockdown, I wrote an editor's letter called From Wallpaper with Love, which was reaching out essentially to the design community to see what we could do to help support emerging talent and the industry in general. We decided to reach out and discover 20 emerging talents from around the world that had the potential of becoming that lost generation without the platform that a lot of younger designers had before them.
Well, when we received the brief, we were trying to understand a lot of things about the space we were living.
The private and the public space completely mixed together, and that made me think, how can we regain control of our private sphere?
When we were told to sort of reflect on the words touch and connection and strength, I guess they were all very visceral things that I'd spent a lot of time contemplating on.
When I was young, I always have been fascinated by temple architecture, especially the roof.
I instantly thought about bunkers.
So I want to give the user more chances to touch, and the fear making is a good way for that, I think.
Yes, it is a chair. You can sit on it, but you can sit on it in various ways. You can adapt to it, or it adapts to your needs.
I was really interested in how different everyone talks about their experiences of isolation.
I think living during this pandemic and spending a lot of time at home, you get to realize how important small moments are.
I'm inspired by observing the detail in Thai architecture. I was attracted by fantastic structure of the base.
I remember when I was a kid, I went to a forest with my father near my house and peeled the cedar skins by hand.
I design from an artistic angle, see pieces more as sculptures.
Social media has changed the way we discover design, but it's essentially not going to make you meet people and connect with people. And that's a huge part of how to have your work seen and how to create relationships with manufacturers and makers as well as other designers.
During that first lockdown, there was this feeling of everybody kind of buzzing to get out of isolation. The word isolation became this word that was really demonized, when actually in my mind that had always been a really romantic word.
The whole concept is really to bring presences and companionship to people locked alone inside.
We felt like we had to spend more time at home. We had to figure out ways of just staying sane, especially with 2 kids.
I really like the contrast between the fact that we were all working together virtually, but talking about and working with a material that is very solid.
Why did we choose those 4 timbers? Soft maple, hard maple, red oak, and cherry. That was the easiest part of the project, really, in putting it together, because it's so obvious for us now that we need to expand the market interest in everything that the forest has to offer. The biodiversity of our global forests is huge. So for us, with the American hardwood forest, it's become quite a critical issue, because these are really productive, dynamic, regenerating forests. So in order to maintain that sustainability, you've got to be encouraging the use and the harvest and the value for all the timbers.
For me, the key learning about this project was really to see wood not only as crafty material that can be shaped by a professional, but also that it is very high-tech. We spent a lot of time trying to replace wood with plastics or other materials, whereas I think nowadays we could actually say it is very futuristic to use wood in a very high-tech way.
The 4 mentors we actually have for Discovered were hugely important to the project. Especially as a young designer, you can't be expected to just come up with a fully formed piece that's functional and works in the market. You can design something, but actually the brief was so specific to these 3 timbers. These mentors had really, really good experience with those woods and were able to teach each designer about how they behave, what the relationship is between them, and how to make the most out of their initial concepts.
We were taking, I think, all the workshops out of their comfort zone. So we needed to have 4 really strong workshops. We would in Portugal, I'd been aware of their work and working with well-known designers for quite some time. And in Australia, we'd already worked with Eva Style on some creative projects. And the same with Fauseng in Malaysia. We've just done a project with them recently for that region about life cycle and the carbon impacts of working with hardwoods. We have a long-established relationship with Benchmark. It's worked fantastically. They've helped us tell our stories in a way that very few companies or workshops could.
It's a really hard time to be graduating or starting a career, because whilst there is a real hotbed of activity about people's interiors, it's very hard for someone to make a breakthrough. It's very hard to get noticed. There have been no shows, there have been no grad shows, there have been no student shows, there have been no trade shows. And maybe they'll never come back. You know, maybe it's just a different way and we'll all get discovered digitally.